Hey everybody, so here we are back in Fallout 4 and we are going to build a house. So if you saw my last video, the first video in this series, you'll see the show home that I made, which is over there somewhere. Yeah, you can kind of see it peeking up behind there. But what we're going to do is build a new house from scratch. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. So first of all, I've made sure that it's daytime. I was hoping the sunrise would come up and be all pretty, maybe in another couple of hours. Game hours, don't worry, this video is not that long. And we're just going to build a house. I've made sure I've got enough materials and things. I've actually got a lot of the pieces stored away from when I was practicing with other buildings and things. But yeah, there's a spot of land over here. You can see the Concord water tower over there. And important thing to remember, as I mentioned before in the previous video, is to chill out. Got an audience there. Is to make sure that the floor's right for what you want. Now, what I ideally want to have is almost like a little inset doorway. I quite fancy that idea. So in order to make that work, I need to extend these bits out a bit. So if you have the doorway here and then have like almost some bits coming out the front here. So let's start with the floor to make sure that we're doing okay. So I'm just going to hold the PlayStation touchpad to bring up the workshop menu. And we're going to look at some flooring to start with. Now, pieces snap to flooring, so it's important to get the flooring sort of in the right place. So let's just make sure we place the first piece with enough room here, using the L2 and R2 to rotate it badly. Just place that and see how we look. So that's not too bad actually. It's a bit hanging over the edge, but in fact, let's just tweak that tiny bit, just because I have mild OCD, and just tweak that and make that fit. There we go, right, like that. And now it's not straight that way. Looks fine, I'm sure. So that could be the first piece. And it's not going to be like dead central with the doorway. Oh, but I want it to be dead central with the doorway. Okay, let's just move that bit across there. Cool, right. And get another piece there. Looking good. Okay, so doorway is going to go here, and then I want these bits to come out a bit, almost be like a bit of an extension out the front, like a big bay window or something. So one good thing to do here, so floors obviously can snap to floors, and you'll notice if I place that there, that you've got this kind of floaty bit there. So if you want to extend the foundation, this bit that underneath here, you can actually use this item here called Shack Foundation. It is exactly what it says it's going to be. And you can actually put this in and out of the ground, so you can make it as high as you want. So you can actually just build a house anywhere. I could build like 2 of these here right next to the tree and then make a house on top of that with some steps going up to it if I wanted to. But let's just extend this bit here. So that bit of floor we don't need there, but I'll stick it here anyway, just so it's there ready for when we need it. And place this bit there. As you can see, you've actually extended the foundation out as well, which kind of makes it look a little bit tidier. Should you like that sort of thing? Let's put another one here as well. So the graining doesn't match there, that's not a problem for me. So now we've got this little bit coming out the front like an extra living room, which can be quite nice, should we need it. So I'm actually going to place the front door here, just so we remember what we're going to do, but I'm going to have to be moving it, and I'll show you why. Place a piece there, and it's like, okay, cool, right, front door all sorted, I'll place a door in there in a minute. Now, what I want to do is put a wall on this bit here. Oh, hang on a minute. Why isn't it snapping to that piece? Snaps to this edge, but doesn't snap to this edge. And the reason for that is that this wall bit here, sticking out here, prevents it from doing that. So I'll show you. Move that bit out of the way. Go back to the wall, and I actually don't want this wall because it's all ugly and horrible. I want a bit more. Just get past all these extra bits here. And just get a nice slatted wall like that. Yeah, well there's almost, there you go, look, there's one with almost like a little window. Place that on, and then you can snap this bit back in. So you see, I couldn't have done it the other way. Kind of annoying, right? But you know, it's fine. Once you know that's what happens, then you can make sure you do it correctly. So that's starting to get that bit nicely. Now, one thing I would like is a nice kind of doorway or a nice window here. Now, the game doesn't actually have windows in it. The closest you can get to a piece with a window is to choose one of these outcroppy bits. Let's go. So not this one, but you see we've got that bit there. If you find the one that has, there you go, there's one with a curtain on it, and there's one with the window. So I could quite conceivably just do that and go, okay, well that's cool. It's almost like a window. It kind of looks a bit like a veranda. This is sort of coming out all onto the front, and I don't like that. And it's also floating, which is kind of a bit annoying in a sense. So I don't really want that to happen. Notice the foundation with the floor includes the floor, so you can't just build the foundation, it has to be a floor piece on top of it. So therefore you can't lay this bit on top of there and let it snap. You can put it on like roughly like that if you wanted to, but then it kind of makes everything else all off center. So let's just store that bit. So what I want to do is have a like a little window type area. So the thing that I found quite useful for this, if you go to the miscellaneous section, you can have this fence here. Now these are quite handy because they snap to any piece like that. You don't have to have the whole 4 square here, because you know you've got these big bits of flooring that are like 2 by 2 compared to the small pieces of flooring like these, which you know, 1 by 1 if you like. So you can create some interesting shapes with that, or slightly different rather than just the 4 square kind of things. Let's just store those out of the way. So what I find is that can be quite a nice sort of window idea. And if we go to the walls and get the nice bit of wall that I want, which is a bit over this side, you can then snap that to there like that. And then if you get a roof on it, then what you've got is this gap out the front, which can be quite handy. I mean, obviously it's going to let the radioactivity and flies and all that kind of thing in, but there are no windows in the game, so there you go, they've got blown out and destroyed by the nuclear bombs. And then you can place a floor on top of this, which makes it all an enclosed space. So I quite like that idea. It seems to be quite nice to have that area out like that. And that way you've got almost this sort of ramshackle, which everything is going to be in this game, unfortunately, because of the nature of it. It's like, you know, nobody's an expert builder, so they just nailed a load of bits of wood together the best they could and made houses out of it. Structurally, probably a bit suspect, but still. Probably more creative than I would be in if I was in a nuclear apocalypse or a post-apocalyptic nuclear world, or a post-apocalyptic post-nuclear world. Let's build a roof on top of this. So flooring. Let's talk about that while we're here. We're not going to obviously finish the house in this episode, but I just want to try and impart as much knowledge as possible so you guys can start having a go as well. Flooring, you notice these bits stick to the floor. Good. It's called shack floor. We can see, let me try and get it in a bit. So that square where the bush is there, I'm pointing, you can't see that. Shack floor, that tells you the piece, it is a shack floor. So it's purely for use on the floor. Now, there is another bit called, slightly confusingly, shack upper floor. Now you'll notice that you can do exactly the same as you can with the lower floor. You can make it stick to the floor just as you would do a normal floor. What it is quite useful for is, as it says, an upper floor. So I can, if I can get the piece to snap, I can, wow, really? I can get this to snap on there, and you can see it actually has 2 layers to it. If I get a normal floor, you can see, hopefully, that you have the upper floor has a roof and a floor, whereas the floor just has a floor. And if you look, you get a gap between the two because this is a floor, not a roof and a floor. Let's just scrap that. So it's quite useful to use the upper floor, because then if I can get that bit to snap as well. Oh really? Oh wow. There we go. You'll notice that you don't get the gaps between the wall and the ceiling. Another important bit, these wall pieces are all a little bit smaller, a little bit lower than the outer cap, what they call the outer cap pieces. These bits that almost have that kind of thickness at the top of it, they're actually a little bit higher. So these are meant to be used for the outside walls, and then these sort of just normal square pieces are used for the inside walls. But there we go. So we've got the first part of our house here. We've got our front door. We've got our little peeky hole so you can see who's at the door to make sure that it's not somebody trying to steal things from you. Although if they wanted to, they'd just jump in through the window here. And we have a window piece that can have a lovely view of the big old tree and that horrible shack I built when I was first working with metal. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.